gravity-on pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
Yeah, well, I will say that I do think we should touch on your frustration with Strange New Worlds, because it is a
Oh,
legitimate
yes. No,
one.
yes. Right.
It is a legitimate one.
My main frustration with Strange New Worlds is then that there is only 10 episodes a season.
Right.
Not 24, 25, 26 episodes per season. So I always call it prime Star Trek real estate. And it's science fiction. And one of the frustrations I have, it's science fiction, and far too often they go, no, don't worry about the science. For example, their reasoning behind the musical where everyone jumped into musical, and I'm like, and that's not even remotely, unless they all are suddenly psychic, this doesn't work. But anyway, for me, there are far too many quirky, silly episodes per season. We're getting at least 3 in the next season, I think, because I actually think the murder mystery one is very much a quirky, even though that does remind me of some of the Data episodes like Sherlock Holmes and stuff. The one where the bridge crew are all going to be Vulcans, and I suspect the Trelawney episode is going to be a comedy episode.
Trelawney is the Harry Potter professor.
Yeah.
You're thinking of Trelane.
I knew I said it right. Trelane. Thank you very much. Well,
and again, we don't know he's Trelane. He's
fucking Trelane.
I mean, they put him in the coat. He does the snap.
He's Trelane. But we might get the answer of whether he's Q or not. So that'll be good. 3 episodes, and they did it in the last season. They had 3 quirky episodes. I haven't watched the first season for a while. I don't think they did particularly in the first season.
They did in the first season. I think there was the Spock hijinks where him and T'Pring switch bodies.
Yeah, that was.
And then there was, I think there was like one other one that was. It's kind of all blended together. I'm.
Yeah. Well, I have a love-hate relationship with them anyway. I actually loved it when they turned Ethan Peck's Vulcan as Spock. Who I can moan about Spock the way they've done that, to be honest, as well. I feel like they've just rushed what they did over the original series and all the movies with way Spock battle between his human and Vulcan side. They just sort of went, let's get on with it. And they just sort of squished it and condensed it.
Well, I feel like what they're doing here is they're like, oh, we have a chance because since he goes more Vulcan by the time of the original series, they're like, now is where we can make him more human. And I think it's all based off the fact the fact that, Leonard Nimoy smiled in the cage, when they found the little singing flowers. And that's
a nice way of looking at it. I do like that. I loved the episode when he became human, particularly the bit when he goes to fight Kirk's younger brother. I thought that was brilliant. I'd launched a million memes. I adored the Lower Decks crossover. I thought it was one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek in years. I thought it was amazing.
Truly a masterpiece from beginning to end.
Yeah,
really.
The musical makes me want to hurt myself. I hated it, and I always said the musical, because it's such a silly, quirky episode, and so I felt like it was just done for the actors who went, I can sing, and they went, oh, okay then. It felt to me like it should have been released as like an 11th episode, or like almost like released at Christmas as a Christmas special.
If
then
only.
I'd have let it go.
Yeah.
But it was the penultimate episode of a season. That really should be, those 2 last episodes should be building up to the end of the season for me. And they had this stupid musical.
I mean, look, I didn't go for the musical one either. But the thing that made me happy about it is that I saw people talking about Star Trek in a positive way. And like I said, anything that gets that happening, anything that makes the club bigger, I look at it as a win. Because, whether you think that we got enough people in, again, we need bigger, Star Trek needs bigger numbers one way or the other, and the fan base does need to grow. But we do still have, if they put it out, stuff that's coming, the Strange New World season 3. I'm excited for that. I don't think your frustration is going to be alleviated as much. I mean, you're right that from the trailers it looks like we're getting a couple quirky episodes and so
I hate the Gorn as well.
Oh yeah. Well, I have a strong suspicion that they are going to put that to bed this season in a way that will make people who don't mind it and people who do mind it satisfied in one way or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, I admit that one, that is pretty much, talk of like canon problems. That's pretty much the biggest one. The whole thing with Khan, I thought that was brilliant. The way that they were like, oh, the Time War, changed things, but things, I hate to use the term canon event from like the Spider-Verse movies, but it's such a good term, because that is what it is. Khan is a canon event, and they just pushed it in such a way so that it fits better with the Star Trek timeline, because when they said the 1990s, they thought we were going to have spaceships that could do what the Botany Bay could do in the 1990s.
We were the Jetsons by then, didn't they?
Yeah. So I thought that was great. But the thing about Spock coming face to face with a Gorn, I don't know how you get around that in Arena.
No.
Like,
well, I've always said that they made the Gorn like a xenomorph from Aliens, and I mean, even though they made it, it's just that's how they did it. But I would love
series finale of Strange New Worlds. The Gorn come back and they just look like the Arena guy. They're like, that's a Gorn? What happened?
Yeah.
Did they change?
I'd love it. Yeah, that'd be good.
The other thing that would be funny is if it was Trelane and he comes in and he's like, the Gorn, you should know about them.
Yeah. They could get away with a lot of things there. But I think they've tried to make him really scary and did the thing, and I don't think they're a good villain. Instead of thing about a good show and a great show is the villain. Which is why I would actually argue Strange New Worlds is just a good show. It can't be a great show unless they do something in season 3.
Well, see, I feel like Star Trek is not that, like, because Star Trek, the villains, even the Klingons, they weren't in the original series as much as people thought.
Only a couple of episodes, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah, same thing with the Borg in Next Gen.
Yeah,
I mean, Voyager really went Borg
5
heavy.
Episodes?
Yeah. You had the Hughes stuff, and that's about it. I mean, Star Trek is the thing about Star Trek is it doesn't need the villain. Like the villain becomes your friend, or the villain is a problem to solve, not to defeat. Like that's when I think Star Trek. But that's also very hard. Like that's why, Maurice Hurley, when he was running the show, he did cop shows. He's like, you get the bad guy, you shoot him. Like he couldn't reconcile. What did he call it? God, he had a term that he used in Chaos of the Bridge. To make fun of sort of like Gene Roddenberry's vision, like I can't remember what it was, but it was real disrespectful in a way, like just like absolute like nonsense, basically. And that's I think if Strange New Worlds and Starfleet Academy, if they do that, like if they don't try to give us a big villain, it'll hit a little better with fans.
I don't think Starfleet Academy can really. It's not really what the show's. What I understand about it, what it's about. Yeah. So it shouldn't really do that, but we'll see. You never know what they're going to do with these shows at the moment. And I will say this: if I'm fine with using release order and time travel to justify any canon conflicts. Like, oh, that's some time travel stuff that changed, because we saw how the timeline changes in yesterday's Enterprise, and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. It just and you never know. So how many times has that happened when we have to people who weren't in our shows? When time travel's so easy, it's just flipping around the sun.
It's just flipping around the sun. You just jump through a black hole. That's how that works. So I'm fine with that. But if it gets in your way, we got the multiverse, man. Just pretend it's a different universe. Who cares? It's not the Prime timeline. It's the Prime timeline plus. It's the Prime video timeline. Whatever it takes to have fun.
I come at it from a slightly different angles. I sometimes feel it's a cop-out, and I do think in times in New Trek they've made a mistake and then they've tried to retro fit it afterwards and sort of gone, we didn't really make a mistake, we did it because of this. And I'm like, it's just a cop-out sometimes. I just think actually if you hadn't made the mistake in the first place, that would have been better.
I'll tell you what, as much as we love this stuff, put us in charge and try to have us do this stuff and not make the mistakes. We'll make the mistakes all the time.
You're going to make mistakes. But also, I do agree. I will say canon is important to a point. And then it's like, we can probably come up with a million different episodes when you go, well, why did they do this? And to make the story happen.
Yeah.
Or why didn't they should have known this because of this, this, and this. Because that was the thing in Picard season 3. I forget what it was now, but Picard should have known. It was something to do with the best of both worlds while Picard was Locutus, and he didn't know about it. And I'm like, he never read the mission reports. He should have known. It doesn't make any sense. But it needed to make the story happen.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.